The Apple Watch Series 7 has been leaked. Jon Prosser is on a streak with all of these recent leaks, and I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on this massive Apple Watch redesign leak. So get your snacks ready and enjoy, because this is a big one. Right, so the Apple Watch only had one redesign ever since its original announcement back in September 2014. And that was with the Series 4 in 2018, which rounded up the body and made the screen bigger by thinning out the bezels. This year, we are getting the second redesign, according to a report from Enquiries, which also implies that this redesign would be bigger than the changes that the Series 4 brought to the table. We even made a full video about that with how we envisioned this new design to look like, and we of course made that circular, as that would have been the biggest possible departure from the Apple Watch's current design. However, it seems that a circular Apple Watch would not be the case at all, as according to Jon Prosser's renders, which were all based on actual photos that he's seen, the Apple Watch Series 7 would actually have a squared-off form factor. Wait, really? A squared-off Apple Watch? I know what you're probably thinking. That design looks uncomfortable, but I do not actually think that would be the case, and on top of that, this design does actually make a lot of sense for Apple. Now, the reason why I do not think it will be uncomfortable is that when your Apple Watch is sitting on your wrist, it is not actually touching your wrist at all. Instead, the back of it, which includes the sensors, is actually quite thick, and that means that that is the one that actually touches your wrist, not the chassis of the Apple Watch. On top of that, it seems like Apple has rounded off the edges quite a bit, so the watch itself won't be as sharp as an iPhone 12, for example, is. And the reason why I think this design makes a lot of sense is because Apple has been embracing this flat design on pretty much all of their new products. It all started with a 2018 iPad Pro, and it then moved to the iPhone with the iPhone 12, then to the Mac with a new iMac, and it seems like the upcoming MacBook Air would also adopt such a design. The reason why I think it makes a lot of sense for Apple to also give the Apple Watch a design that resembles their other products. And on top of that, if you take a look at how Apple's current Apple Watch looks like, you can see that it resembles the iPhone X's design quite a lot, whereas the new one is a perfect match for the iPhone 12's design. The iPhone X came out in 2017, and then the Apple Watch Series 4, with its updated design that matches the iPhone X's design, came out a year later in 2018. The iPhone 12 came out in 2020, and the Apple Watch that is said to resemble its design will come out in 2021. So maybe this is a pattern. Maybe in the future, when Apple updates the iPhone design once again, they will release an Apple Watch that will match that design a year after. Right, so aside from just this squared-off form factor, are there any other design changes? On the right-hand side, we still have the same side button, the microphone, and the digital crown, but it seems like the crown is now sitting fully on the outside of the chassis, as opposed to half of it cutting through the chassis like it was on the Series 4 and newer. Apple might have done this in order to have a tiny bit more space inside, as every extra bit of it will help on a super compact device such as a smartwatch. Now, the left-hand side is where things get very interesting, as it seems like we get two gigantic speaker grills, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. The Series 6 already had some very loud speakers with crystal clear audio.
Okay, this is a speaker test on the Apple Watch, so let me know how that sounds.
So I do not see why Apple would want to use that much space inside for even better speakers, when they could simply use that space for, I don't know, a larger battery instead. So yes, it is a bit of an odd one, but in the end, I do think that they are indeed a cutout for a new speaker, because I do not see what else they would be a cutout for. And I still think that a speaker that big is just way too much, and Apple should have focused on something else, like improving the battery life, which I think they also did. And that is because when Apple first redesigned the Apple Watch with the Series 4, they redid all the internals from scratch. So they made everything smaller and compacted everything even better in order to utilize the space more efficiently. So it makes sense for Apple to be doing the same again with the Series 7. And now that we have a more squared off form factor, it also means that we also have slightly more space inside, which I'm really hoping that it will be used to add a larger battery. You see, my Apple Watch Series 4 easily lasted me for 2 entire days. But when I got the Series 5 that I'm using right now, that dropped considerably to a single day, or sometimes even barely that because of the always-on display. And now that we have sleep tracking too, the Apple Watch needs an improved battery life, which is why I really hope that this will happen with the Series 7. And finally, the last chassis change that I want to talk about is the band mounting mechanism. So all the Apple Watches from the original to the Series 6 have had the exact same mounting mechanism. But this one seems to actually be a tiny bit different, as instead of using this angled mount, you would insert a band at a straighter angle, which makes me think that even though most of your existing bands should work, there might be a few that will not, depending on how flexible they are. So I predict that the Sport loop bands will not work as they're way too stiff, and some other bands like the Link bracelet might not work either. Of course, that this is not confirmed, this is all just my prediction. I do hope that all the bands would work, but of course that we'll have to wait and see if that is indeed the case. Now there is one last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the design, which is the color. So John's renders have shown us a few color options from space gray to silver to navy blue to light blue to red to even a new green color. So far it seems like these colors match the iMac's colors and even some of the upcoming MacBook Air's colors, which I do like. But you've probably noticed that all of these colors that John has shown us, they were all of the aluminum model. Apple has had other finishes for the Apple Watch, such as stainless steel, titanium, and ceramic. So I'm confident that we would get these again with the Series 7, it's just that we do not have any renders of these yet. Normally we would have made our own renders, but we've been super busy just making videos on all of these new leaks over the past week, so we haven't really had any time to work on these yet. Definitely check out our videos in case you missed them, and make sure to subscribe for more in-depth tech videos like this one hopefully is. But anyway, I think that the stainless steel models would make this watch look so much better. The Space Black version is likely the one that I would be getting. However, when it comes to the gold model, I actually think that the Series 6 looks better. Simply because the gold Series 6 looks like actual jewelry, and when was the last time you saw a squared off piece of jewelry? So this is all there is when it comes to the design changes, so now let's talk about the specs and the features. It is pretty obvious that we would get a new chip inside the new Apple Watch, likely the Apple Watch S7 chip, which would be more efficient than the S6, as it will be based on Apple's A14 processor, or even the A15 chip compared to the S6, which was based on the Apple A13. Aside from that, John mentioned that Apple does have different prototypes, some with thinner bezels. We don't yet know if we are going to actually get thinner bezels or not. I sure hope so, but at the same time, I don't actually mind the bezels on the Series 6, as they're pretty thin compared to what they used to be, so, I'm good. But I still wouldn't say no to thinner bezels. So what about the features? Is there anything new that we're getting with the Series 7, aside from this major redesign? Well, we have seen a bunch of reports over the years that Apple plans on bringing even more health monitoring sensors to the Apple Watch. The one that's most likely going to happen is a blood glucose monitoring sensor, which is pretty amazing as normally this is measured invasively by requiring a drop of your blood. An optical glucose monitoring sensor on the Apple Watch would be pretty game-changing. And on top of that, we have seen reports that Apple is also working on sensors to measure your blood pressure as well as the alcohol level in your blood, which is pretty huge. I do imagine this working with the upcoming Apple Car whenever that gets released, so that the car would not start if your Apple Watch detects that your blood alcohol level is too high. For now at least, the blood glucose monitoring sensor is the one that's been reported the most, so this is the one that I do believe being included in the Series 7. Other features could include things such as a brighter display. We did get this, kinda, with the Series 6, where the always-on display was up to 2.5 times brighter when outdoors, so hopefully this gets improved even further with the Series 7. There is also the possibility of Apple adding 5G, but I would say that this won't happen for a few more years, as number one, the Apple Watch already has very fast LTE, and number two, there are no 5G modems for smartwatches yet, at least not that I'm aware of. And adding 5G would severely impact the battery life, which is really the last thing that the Apple Watch needs. So in the end, I do actually like the fact that we're getting a new Apple Watch design. Not necessarily because of the design itself, as I would have still preferred a circular design, but because we are finally getting a big visual change, something that the Apple Watch has desperately needed for a few years now. Oh, and something big that I forgot to mention is that Google just announced a major change to Wear OS, which is their smartwatch software, or operating system in this case, which will be made in partnership with Samsung. So that's pretty huge, which I believe will have a major impact on the Android smartwatch side of things. And who knows, maybe Apple will also embrace Android smartwatches at some point, so that they can, at the moment you can use an Android smartwatch on iOS if you really want to do that, but you're very restricted in terms of what you can do. So maybe Apple's gonna open up the system a bit so they can get access to a few more APIs. That'll be cool, but anyways, I'm really looking forward to the future. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on this brand new Apple Watch design, and are you actually getting one? And if so, which color and which material would you get it in? If you have enjoyed this video, definitely give it a like to let us know, as it does help YouTube push our videos more. And definitely subscribe if you want to see more interesting tech videos like this one hopefully was. Don't forget to check out the previous videos, all on the recent leaks, the MacBook leaks and the Pixel and all of that. But yeah, this has been pretty much it for this one. I'm Daniel, this has been Zone of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zone of Tech, signing out. Cheers.